You left because of the student loans, and the job, and the ex-girlfriend. But mostly the loans, if you're being honest. $43,000 of debt for a communications degree that qualified you to manage social media for a mortgage company you didn't understand and didn't care about. You sat in that office for 2 years. You stared at a content calendar on a Monday morning. You thought, this is it. This is the thing. This is what you spent 4 years and $43,000 preparing to do. Schedule LinkedIn posts about refinancing rates. So you quit. Not dramatically, not with a speech. You gave 2 weeks' notice on a Tuesday, and your manager said he'd sort out your exit interview and never did, which felt about right. You went home, opened your laptop, and typed cheapest cities for remote work into Google at 11 at night. Chiang Mai appeared at the top of every list. Beautiful temples, street food for $1, co-working spaces with fast Wi-Fi. The phrase digital nomad hub showed up so many times it started to feel like a personality type. You watched 3 YouTube videos of guys in linen shirts working by swimming pools and thought, that's a life. That's a real life. You booked a one-way ticket. Your savings were $6,200. You had a freelance client who paid you $1,800 a month to write SEO copy about air conditioning units, which was slightly more meaningful than the mortgage company and slightly less meaningful than nothing. The plan was simple. Work remotely. Live cheaply. Find yourself. 3 goals. 0 realistic understanding of any of them. You land at Chiang Mai International, and the heat hits you before the doors fully open. Not warm, heat. The specific kind that makes you question every clothing decision you've ever made. Your first thought is that someone has made an error with the thermostat. Your second thought is that there is no thermostat. It's 36 degrees, the humidity is sitting at 90%, and you're wearing jeans because the flight was cold. The taxi driver quotes you 300 baht for the ride into the old city. You agree immediately because you haven't learned to negotiate yet, and also because 300 baht is $9, and you grew up paying 12 for a parking spot. The driver watches you in the mirror. He's clocked you instantly, not unkindly, just accurately. You check into a co-living space in Niman called The Hive. It's clean. It has fast Wi-Fi. There's a rooftop with plants and string lights. The other residents are 8 people between 24 and 31, all working remotely, all cycling through the same conversation about whether Bali or Medellin is better right now. You smile and nod. You feel immediately at home and immediately hollow. You're in the exact right place for the exact wrong reasons. The first week is beautiful. You eat cow soy across from Wat Chedi Luang, and it costs 40 baht, and it might be the best thing you've ever tasted. You walk through the Sunday night market and spend money on things you don't need. You sit in coffee shops and write your SEO articles and feel extremely evolved. You take photos of your laptop next to things that are beautiful. You send them to nobody because you're not sure what caption to put on them. Week 2 is when the math starts. Your visa is a tourist visa, 60 days, extendable once to 90. After that, you have to leave the country and come back. Or you can do a border run, which sounds adventurous until you discover it means sitting on a minibus for 3 hours to the Myanmar border, crossing a bridge, getting stamped, crossing back, and returning 6 hours later legally permitted to exist in Thailand for another 30 days. You do this once. It costs 900 baht and smells like feet and optimism in equal measure. You are not legally working in Thailand. Your client pays you in dollars into a foreign account. You are, in the technical language of Thai immigration law, a tourist who happens to be typing very industriously. The tourist visa is for tourism. You are not a tourist. You're also not an employee. You're not anything the system has a clean word for. This is called being a digital nomad, which is a phrase that sounds like freedom and functions like limbo. You are the tax base of no country. You exist in the administrative gap between what the world has decided to allow and what it hasn't bothered to prohibit yet. The co-living space charges you 18,000 baht a month. That's about $500, which sounds cheap until you realize you're paying $500 to sleep in a room the size of a dining table and share a kitchen with 8 strangers who all have opinions about oat milk. Your freelance income covers it. Just, the math is not comfortable. It's survivable, which you'll learn to confuse with comfortable. The Muay Thai gym is 2 streets away from the Hive. You walk past it every morning on the way to the coffee shop you've chosen as your office. It's called Lana Fight Club, which sounds like something from a film you'd watch in a hostile common room. Through the open door, you can hear pads being hit and a trainer counting in Thai. You walk past for 11 days in a row. On day 12, it's 40 degrees, and you've been inside a coffee shop for 6 hours, and you need to be somewhere that isn't a chair. You walk in. The trainer at the door is named Kun Lek. He's approximately 5 feet 4 and looks like he was assembled specifically to be good at fighting. He quotes you the price, 200 baht per session, $6. You pay. He hands you wraps. You don't know how to wrap your hands. He wraps them for you with the patient efficiency of a man who has done this for foreigners every day for 15 years. He doesn't comment on your inability. That's its own form of kindness. The first session, you spar with a 16-year-old named Noon. Noon weighs approximately 52 kilograms, which is to say he weighs slightly less than your carry-on luggage. He also hits you so hard in the thigh that your leg stops working for 4 seconds and you have to think very carefully about not falling over. You don't fall over. Barely. Noon smiles. Not maliciously, just with the specific confidence of someone who learned to fight before they learned long division. You go home, lie on the floor of your room for 40 minutes, and Google, is it normal to feel humiliated after Muay Thai? The answer is yes. You go back the next morning. This becomes the rhythm. Coffee shop until noon, gym at 4, pad Thai at the stall on the corner of your street for 60 baht. Repeat. Your freelance client sends you a brief about heat pump installation guides. You write it. You get paid. You use the money to continue living in a country where a 16-year-old regularly kicks you in the legs and you thank him for it. Your thighs are permanently bruised for the first 2 months. You teach a virtual writing workshop on Tuesday evenings for an education startup back home. You sit in your room with a ring light and speak with authority about narrative structure. Your arms, visible in the camera frame, have the specific coloration of someone who has been assaulted repeatedly by a professional. Nobody asks. You don't explain. There's a woman named Maylee who runs the noodle stall at the bottom of the road. She's there every morning at 6:30, and she's there every evening until 8. She has a daughter at university in Bangkok. She has a laminated photo of the king above the cart. She has an opinion about how much chili you should be putting in things, and the opinion is always more than you think you can handle and always correct. You start stopping at her stall every morning. Joke, the rice congee, with an egg and ginger and more chili than is advisable before 9 in the morning. She charges you 40 baht for months. Then one morning she charges you 35. You don't know why. You don't ask. You pay 35. The next week she throws in a piece of deep-fried dough without comment. You eat it standing next to her cart because both stools have regulars. She starts teaching you Thai words for things. Rice, hot. Too spicy. Not you, idiot, but the look that accompanies certain of your mispronunciations communicates it clearly enough. You learn that she's lived in this neighborhood for 30 years, that she came from Lamphun, that her husband died when her daughter was 4, that she wakes up at 4:30 every morning to prep the stock. She finds it funny and slightly baffling that you choose to live this way, paying rent and flying in from somewhere with a better economy, eating street food for reasons that are aesthetic rather than economic. She said once, through a translation app you both peer at together, that you are very far from home for someone who doesn't have to be. You don't have a good answer for that. You still don't. Month 3, you fight. It's a Friday night card at a small stadium near the moat. Tourist friendly. The kind of card where half the fights are between Westerners who've been training for a few months, and the other half are between Thai fighters who could end the evening early if they wanted to, but don't because the crowd paid for entertainment, not efficiency. The purse is 500 baht, $14. Your opponent is a German named Felix who's been in Chiang Mai for 4 months. He has better technique than you. He also has approximately the same level of experience, which is to say both of you are operating on enthusiasm and the specific confidence of someone who has never done this in front of people before. You lose on points over 3 rounds in front of a crowd that is mostly there for the beer. You take a teep to the chest in the second round that sends you back 2 steps, and the Thai trainers on both sides of the ring shout things simultaneously, and the referee checks on you with an expression that suggests he's seen this many times and you are all fine. You walk out of the ring to polite applause from the beer tables. Kunlek says, in English, good heart. That's it. Good heart. You spend the taxi ride home deciding that's the best thing anyone has ever said to you. The taxi costs more than the purse. You don't mind. You come back to Meili's cart the next morning with a bruised cheek. She looks at it, says something, and laughs. She gives you extra ginger in your joke. She tells you, through the app and hand gestures, that the thing you choose when you're lost is sometimes the thing that stays. She doesn't fully understand what you do on the laptop, but she can see that the gym has changed your posture. She mimes you walking, hunched, on your first week. Then she mimes you now, upright. She finds this very funny. You find it accurate. Mali becomes the reason the city feels real, rather than decorative. She's not a character in your story of Thailand. You're a recurring customer in her story of her street. The difference matters. It takes you longer than it should to understand this. You move out of the hive and into a 1-bedroom apartment near the old city. 7,000 baht a month. $200. It has a small balcony and a kitchen where you learn to cook 3 things, which is 3 more than you could cook before. You buy a used motorbike. You fall off it once in a very undignified fashion on a wet road near Doi Suthep, and you get up before anyone can see clearly and ride home. You name the bike nothing, because naming things makes you responsible for them. You learn enough Thai to order food, apologize, get directions, and lose arguments with Kunlek about whether your roundhouse has improved. It is not. He is polite about this. Barely. You extend your visa again, then again. You do a border run to Laos because the Myanmar crossing is closed for a public holiday. The Laos option means an overnight bus to Vientiane, which tests the structural integrity of your lower back and your optimism in equal measure. You come back with a new tourist stamp and the same unresolved question you left with. What are you actually doing here? Working? Hiding? Becoming something? You eat Meili's joke the morning you return, and she asks, without looking up from the cart, if you went somewhere. You say yes. She says good, because you needed a wash. Then the thing happens that makes you understand the actual shape of where you are. Your apartment building sells. The new owners are a property group from Bangkok. They're converting the building into a boutique hotel. You have 30 days notice. Thai property law does not give foreign leaseholders significant protection. Your lease is verbal, because your Thai was not good enough for a legal document, and your landlord never suggested one. You are a tourist on paper. You have no formal standing. You're not evicted, technically. You're just not renewed. The distinction is administrative and feels identical. You look into longer-term options. You learn about Thailand elite visas, which cost 600,000 baht and give you 5 years of legal stay. $15,000. For a tourist visa with better branding. You learn about the LTR program, which requires proof of passive income, or a work contract with a verified employer. You have a freelance client who pays you to write about air conditioning. The government of Thailand would like to see something more structured than that. You are structurally invisible, not unwelcome, just unaccounted for. The country doesn't need to push you out. It just doesn't have a category to keep you in. You sit with Meili on a quieter Tuesday afternoon and try to explain, through the app and the words you've taught each other, that you might need to leave soon. She listens. She nods. She says something that translates roughly as, "You always knew you were passing through." You're not sure if she's right. You're not sure she's wrong. She gives you the recipe for the joke, written on a piece of paper in Thai, with her daughter's contact details at the bottom in case you need a translation. This is the most organized she has ever been in your presence. The gesture of it sits in your chest like something you won't fully understand for a while. You pack your apartment in 2 days. The bike sells in a single afternoon to a French guy who just arrived and is in the phase where everything seems cheap and buying a secondhand motorbike feels sound. It felt sound to you too once. You eat at Maylee's stall the last 3 mornings in a row. She charges you nothing. You argue. She waves you away. The last morning she gives you a small amulet, the kind sold at the temple market, and says something you translate later as, "Wear this somewhere they can't see it." Not because it does anything, because you'll remember you had it. You sit in a cafe near the old city on your final afternoon. You open your laptop. You write a brief about underfloor heating. You get paid. You close the laptop. You order a coffee. The city outside is exactly what it was the day you arrived. Tuk-tuks and temples and the smell of frangipani and exhaust and the sound of pads being hit somewhere close. The heat hasn't changed. The cost of things hasn't changed. The visa situation hasn't changed. The only thing different is that you know which street the good mango sticky rice is on. You know the Thai word for too spicy. You know that Kunlek's version of a compliment is saying nothing and telling you to do it again. And you know that Maylee wakes up at 4:30 every morning in a country she did not choose because there was no other option, while you fly home to a country that will let you back in without a stamp. You hold that knowledge on the airport bus. You watch Chiang Mai go flat behind you. The temples, the markets, the gym door open, the sound of pads and counting coming through. You think about Noon, the 16-year-old who kicked your leg until it stopped working, who was already a better fighter than you'll ever be before you ever walked through that door. You think about Maylee already setting up the card at 4:30 while you're landing somewhere with central heating and dental insurance and a passport that opens every door you approach. That thought is the last one. Not with guilt exactly, just with the specific awareness of what you were given and what you built with it, and the knowledge that the two things are not the same. The amulet is in your jacket pocket where no one can see it. Someone picks you up at arrivals. They ask how it was. You say it was good. They say that's great, good to have you back. You nod. You're already calculating the exchange rate in your head. Old habit. 36 baht to the dollar used to mean something. It doesn't anymore. But the math stays with you. It always stays with you, long after the city has stopped.